Let's start with the G20 Summit. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak arrived in India's capital, New Delhi, for the G20 Summit. He was accompanied by the First Lady of the UK. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has also landed in New Delhi. Earlier in the day, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni arrived in New Delhi. She was greeted by officials of the Indian Navy at the airport. Argentina's president also landed in India for the global event. The G20 Summit talks are slated to begin from tomorrow. Hundreds of Tibetans protested in New Delhi today. They demonstrated against the arrival of Chinese Premier Li Qiang for the G20 Summit. The protesters chanted slogans of "Shame on China" and "Free Tibet." Australia and the Philippines upgraded their diplomatic ties to a strategic partnership. This means the two nations will now hold annual meetings between their defence ministers. The agreement was signed by Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the President of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Australia is the second largest defence partner for the Philippines after the US. Indonesia handed the ASEAN chair to Laos after the annual summit ended yesterday. After receiving the baton, the Prime Minister of Laos vowed to follow through with the ASEAN group's vision into 2024. Meanwhile, junta-ruled Myanmar, which was set to receive the chairmanship in 2026, has passed on its turn to chair the summit. North Korea unveiled a new tactical nuclear submarine yesterday. Kim Jong-un attended the ceremony and interacted with high-ranking officials of the North Korean Navy. During the ceremony, Kim said that arming his forces with nuclear weapons was an urgent task. Gabon's military junta has named former opposition leader Raymond Ndong Sima as the interim prime minister. 68-year-old Sima is an economist and a recent critic of Gabon's overthrown president Ali Bongo. Sima used to be Ali Bongo's prime minister, but the two leaders had a fallout in 2014. Sudan's army chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan arrived in Qatar yesterday. He held bilateral talks with Qatar's Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. The two leaders discussed security and economic cooperation. This is Burhan's third trip abroad since the 29th of August. Earlier, he also visited Egypt and South Sudan. Thousands of people took to the streets in Jerusalem. Israeli pro-government demonstrators marched to show support for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial overhaul law. The demonstrators say that the Israeli Supreme Court does not have the authority to break down the basic rules of parliament. In July, Israel passed parts of the controversial judicial overhaul bill, sparking outrage across the nation. Meanwhile, hundreds of women took to the streets of Mexico's capital, Mexico City, yesterday. They applauded the Supreme Court's decision that struck down a federal law criminalizing abortion. The demonstrators say they are waiting for abortion to become legal across the Latin American nation. Currently, abortion is legal in only 12 out of 32 Mexican states. Cuban authorities arrested at least 17 people on allegations of human trafficking. Officials say the detainees were luring young Cuban men to serve in the Russian military and fight against Ukraine. Cuba's government says it does not support the war in Ukraine or Cubans taking part in the war as mercenaries. Moving to climate, tropical storm Yoon is expected to make landfall in Japan later in the day. Ahead of the storm, people in Tokyo battled strong winds and heavy rain. Japan's meteorological agency has warned of extreme heavy rain accompanied by thunder on Friday and Saturday. China's National Meteorological Center has renewed a yellow alert for rainstorms. Heavy downpours are expected to lash parts of Chinese coastal areas. In the Fujian province, nearly 300,000 residents were forced out of their flooded homes. In the Guangdong province, many areas have issued red alerts for rainstorms. Meanwhile, widespread flooding was seen in Hong Kong. The island recorded its highest hourly rainfall since records began 140 years ago. Extreme conditions are expected to last until at least noon on Friday. Sydney's northern suburbs were littered with damage and debris. This was after wild winds and rain lashed the Australian city. Several flights were also cancelled or delayed due to the rains. Londoners took to parks and outdoor spaces yesterday. They were experiencing unusually warm September weather. It was Britain's hottest day of the year so far. The temperature reached a high of 32.6 degrees Celsius in the southeast of the UK. 3 climate protesters halted the US Open women's semi-finals. 2 of them were removed peacefully, but the third one had glued his feet to the cement floor. Later, he was freed and was seen leaving the stadium in handcuffs. Michael O'Leary, the CEO of Irish Airlines Ryanair, was hit with a cream cake. 2 women smashed the cake on his face and in the back. They were protesting against the impact of air travel on the climate. Greenpeace activists staged a protest on the German resort island of Rügen. The activists painted "No New Gas" in large letters onto the side of a ship. They were demanding a halt to the construction of a planned liquefied natural gas or LNG terminal. A Greenpeace energy expert said that the terminal endangered Germany's climate protection goal. The United Nations' climate change body will publish its global stocktake report today. The report will show how far the world is from meeting its climate change pledges. It will lay the groundwork for talks at the upcoming COP28 Summit. The COP28 Summit begins in the United Arab Emirates in late November. In business and tech news, the International Monetary Fund and World Bank have issued a rare joint statement. They have pledged to step up their cooperation to address climate change, debt vulnerabilities, and countries' digital transitions. The statement comes ahead of the G20 Leaders Summit in India this week. Meanwhile, Ajay Banga is scheduled to attend his first G20 Summit as the World Bank head. Global financial regulators and the International Monetary Fund have published a joint report. The paper sets out timelines for the regulators to implement recent recommendations to regulate cryptocurrencies. These recommendations were made by the G20's Financial Stability Board earlier this year. The regulators seek to coordinate measures that contain risks related to crypto. Goldman Sachs is reportedly planning another round of job cuts. This will be for employees that the company deems underperformers. The job cuts could affect between 1 to 5% of the company's workforce. It could risk the positions of employees in Goldman Sachs' core investment banking and trading divisions. The layoffs could come as soon as October. Citigroup has downgraded its 2023 economic growth forecast for the Eurozone to 0.4%. Earlier, the financial firm forecasted the region's real GDP to grow by 0.8%. They also expect the economy to shrink by 0.1% in 2024. This is a decrease from the 0.8% growth expected earlier. The White House expects to see meaningful progress on 2 deals today. These are the GE jet engines deal and a nuclear technology deal between the US and India. US President Joe Biden and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi are holding bilateral talks today. Earlier this year, the aerospace unit of General Electric signed an agreement with India's Hindustan Aeronautics. They agreed to jointly make engines in India to power fighter jets for the Indian Air Force. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with business leaders in Singapore on Thursday. He held talks with the CEOs of investment firm Temes and GIC. Trudeau was there to strengthen bilateral relations and promote investment opportunities in Canada. He also expected to meet with the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, and a number of key private sector lenders. Ryan Salame, the former co-CEO of FTX's Bahamian subsidiary, has pleaded guilty to 2 charges. This includes conspiring to make unlawful US political contributions. His guilty plea comes less than a month before FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is scheduled to go on trial. Retail chain Walmart is changing its hourly starting wages structure. This is for its entry-level store workers. Store workers, including cashiers, stockers, and department associates, will now receive the same hourly starting wages. Previously, they were paid based on their job designation and level. The change comes as Walmart seeks to reduce its costs. Spyware has been discovered in Apple's operating system. This was found by researchers at the digital watchdog group Citizen Lab. They found this while inspecting the Apple device of a Washington resident. Researchers have said that the spyware was linked to the Israeli firm NSO. The device was infected with NSO's Pegasus spyware. Several reports suggest that the Pegasus software is routinely used by governments to surveil journalists and activists. The recent flaw allowed the compromise of iPhones running the latest version of iOS 16.6. Apple has now released an emergency update to fix the issue. Zoom Video Communications has reportedly met with regulators from the United States, European Union, and other geographies. This is to outline concerns about Microsoft's alleged anti-competitive behavior. Zoom says it is concerned about the way Microsoft gives preference to its chat and video app MS Teams. This is through price bundling. Price bundling is a marketing strategy where products are combined and offered at a lower price than if they were sold separately. Moving to sports, in cricket, Australia beat South Africa by 3 wickets in the first match of the ongoing one-day international series yesterday. South Africa were bowled out for 222 runs in 49 overs after batting first. Australia lost a couple of wickets early and were only at 113 for 7 by the 17th over. But then Marnus Labuschagne, who was brought in as an injury substitute, guided Australia to victory. He scored a whopping 80 runs and was not out. Australia now lead the 5-match series 1-0. In football, Cristiano Ronaldo has said his rivalry with Lionel Messi is over. The 38-year-old said this during a press conference. Ronaldo said, and I quote, "The rivalry is over. It was a good, healthy rivalry that the spectators liked a lot. Whoever likes Ronaldo does not have to hate Messi or vice versa." Ronaldo now plays for the Saudi club Al Nassr, while Messi stars for Inter Miami. Meanwhile, Messi was at it again for his country. Argentina's 2026 World Cup qualifier campaign started off on the right foot. They beat Ecuador 1-0 yesterday, and Messi's goal in the 78th minute sealed the victory for Argentina. Argentina will next play Bolivia on Tuesday. In football, France beat the Republic of Ireland 2-0 at the Euro 2024 qualifiers. Aurélien Tchouameni's 19th minute goal gave France a 1-0 lead. Marcus Thuram netted the second one in the 48th minute. The Netherlands secured a 3-0 win over Greece at the Euro 2024 qualifiers. Martin de Roon opened the scoring just 17 minutes into the game. Cody Gakpo and Wout Weghorst netted the next 2 goals to seal the match. In tennis, Coco Gauff advanced to her first final at the US Open yesterday. She defeated Carolina Muchova 6-4 and 7-5 in a thrilling semi-final match. As we mentioned earlier, the semi-final was halted for nearly an hour after climate protesters interrupted the game. Aryna Sabalenka also reached the US final after beating Madison Keys. She lost the first set 6-0 to Keys, however, rallied back 7-6 and 7-6 in the next two sets. So this means Sabalenka will play against Coco Gauff in the US Open final. Meanwhile, Indian tennis player Rohan Bopanna achieved a significant milestone. The 43-year-old became the oldest player to reach a Grand Slam final in the Open era. Bopanna, along with his Australian partner Matthew Ebden, entered the final round at the US Open. The Indo-Australian pair beat the French duo Pierre-Hugues Herbert and Nicolas Mahut yesterday. Bopanna and Ebden beat their French opponents 7-6 and 6-2. In athletics, Indian long jumper Murali Srishankar has decided to not compete in the Diamond League final. Steeplechaser Avinash Sable has also opted out. They will instead focus on the upcoming 2023 Asian Games. Ace javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra will be the only Indian athlete to participate in this event. The Diamond League final is scheduled for the 16th of September and the 17th of September in the city of Eugene in the US. In gymnastics, Olympic champion Simone Biles is eyeing to compete in the 2024 Paris Olympics. She made her comeback in gymnastics last month after 2 years. Biles had taken a break to focus on her mental health. When asked about the Olympics in an interview, she said, and I quote, "Right now, I would say that's the path I would love to go." Moving to entertainment, more than a month after its global release, Barbie has come to theatres in Lebanon today. This comes after the West Asian nation reversed its earlier ban on the film. Barbie had been banned by Lebanese government over what they called uncultured content. Now it has been released with an adults-only rating. Actor and singer Mark Anthony received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday. The ceremony was attended by his family and football superstar David Beckham. The actor-singer first made his debut in the year 1988. He has won 4 Grammy Awards and sold over 12 million albums worldwide. Mark Anthony is best known for his roles in movies like The Substitute and Man on Fire. Actor Liam Neeson recently appeared on a podcast and spilled the beans about life on set during the filming of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. The 71-year-old actor said he was repeatedly scolded by director George Lucas for making lightsaber noises. Liam Neeson played the role of Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars Episode 1. Late-night show host Jimmy Fallon has apologized to his staff members. This is after the staff accused him of creating a toxic workplace. In his apology, Jimmy Fallon says, and I quote, "Sorry if I embarrassed you and your family and your friends. I feel so bad." Meanwhile, some staff members showed support for the talk show host. They say that Jimmy Fallon goes out of his way to make the set a fun place to be. Singer Charlie Puth got engaged to his longtime partner Brooke. He took to social media to make the announcement yesterday. The couple have known each other since childhood and grew up together in the US state of New Jersey. However, the duo are yet to confirm a date for their wedding. Charlie Puth is best known for his songs "We Don't Talk Anymore" and "That's Not How This Works." A new comic book that celebrates the life and career of pop star Pink was released today. It highlights her work with animal rights organizations to end New York City's horse-drawn carriage industry. The comic was released to mark the singer's 44th birthday. Pink is best known for her songs "Just Give Me a Reason," "What About Us," and "So What." The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were honored with a handprint ceremony in Hollywood yesterday. Kevin Eastman, the co-creator of the fictional characters, also attended the ceremony. He said, and I quote, "This is really awesome and humbling. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created by comic artists Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird in 1988. The comics are about 4 turtles, namely Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael and Michelangelo, who live in the sewers of New York and fight crime. A memorable red sweater worn by Princess Diana was rediscovered in an attic earlier this year. The sweater was found in the house of the founder of the clothing brand, Warm and Wonderful. Now the cardigan is being auctioned and is expected to receive bids of over $50,000. Princess Diana first wore the red sweater in the year 1981. American country music star Zach Bryan was arrested by police officials in the US state of Oklahoma. This was yesterday. The 27-year-old was booked on charges of obstructing an ongoing investigation. He was released shortly after his arrest. The country musician made a public apology on social media after the incident. Zach Bryan is known for his songs Heading South and Oklahoma Smoke Show. Actor Danny Masterson was sentenced to 30 years to life imprisonment yesterday. A Los Angeles court convicted the actor for raping 2 women about 20 years ago. Danny Masterson had met the women in a meeting for the cult Church of Scientology. The women have also accused the Church of Scientology for trying to cover up for the actor. Danny Masterson is best known for playing the role of Stephen Hyde in That 70s Show.